During a family vacation, the sound of screeching tires still echoes in my mind. One moment, the world was a winding mountain road and lazy conversation. The next, it was metal twisting, glass shattering, and gravity pulling us into chaos. When the car finally stopped, smoke curled into the thin mountain air. My body screamed in protest, but I summoned every last scrap of strength. I crawled through the wreckage, dragging my mother, father, and brother away from the mangled frame. The scent of oil and burning rubber stung my nostrils, warning of what might come next. And yet, their eyes weren't on me. They weren't on the blood trickling down my temple, or the way my breathing hitched. No, they were on Lily, my sister, clutching her fractured leg, whimpering. "She needs a hospital now," my mother said with frantic urgency. My father agreed without looking at me. Nathan, my brother, barely glanced my way before moving to help carry her. They left, just like that, abandoning me on a cold, rocky roadside with lips turning blue, and a chest that felt heavier by the second. They didn't notice. Or maybe they didn't care. The last thing I heard before darkness closed in was the crunch of tires over gravel. Lily died hours later, in the VIP ward of the city's top hospital, surrounded by my family. Each wore a different face for the tragedy. My biological mother sat frozen beside Lily's bed, eyes wide, lips trembling as a police officer quietly relayed the report. "Are you serious?" she whispered, disbelief dripping from every syllable. Ethan, my older brother, the one who never missed a chance to remind me I was a burden, stood rigid. But this time there was something in his expression I had never seen before. Panic. A misunderstanding, they might have told themselves. "We saw her fine yesterday. We saw her unharmed." But from where I hovered above them now, untethered from the body they'd left behind, my lips curled into a cold, sardonic smile. I finally understood. They had never doubted themselves, only me. 3 days earlier, Lily had complained over dinner, eyes wide with envy for her classmates' glossy photos of family outings. So my mother, who had always hated the isolation of the mountains, suggested we make a weekend of it camping. A picnic, a nearby peak. Father couldn't come, so it was just the 4 of us, taking 2 separate cars. Nathan drove one. I rode shotgun in the other with Mum and Lily. The air was crisp when we reached the mountainside, the road narrowing as we prepared to pull over for a break. Then, in a heartbeat, control was gone. The car veered, skidding sideways, metal shrieking before we slammed into a jagged rock barrier. Mum and Nathan, in the front seats, were thrown forward. Knocked out instantly. I felt a sharp blow to my chest, then my back, and then oddly, the pain was gone. My mind was razor sharp, almost detached, as I unbuckled and stepped into the cold air. I stared at the crumpled hood. The shattered windshield glittered like ice under the pale sun. And I knew, something about this accident didn't feel like an accident at all. There wasn't time to think. My only concern was rescuing my trapped and injured family from the smoking, potentially exploding vehicle. Fortunately, the airbags protected Mum and Nathan, resulting in only minor injuries and unconsciousness. Nathan regained consciousness while I helped them. His first action was to grab my collar and urgently ask, "Where is Lily? Is she still inside the car?" I looked at Lily, whom I hadn't yet freed, and nodded. He shoved me aside, causing me to collapse to the ground. My back struck a piece of debris sharply. I groaned in agony, a searing pain radiating from my back down my body, making me appear ghostly, pale, and unable to stand upright. The pain was so intense that I couldn't think about anything else, but Nathan shouted from the car door. "Why are you still standing there? Lily's leg is stuck between the seats. Come and help." Perhaps his loud voice awoke Mum. Nathan gave me a disgusted look after noticing her brief unconsciousness and my immobility before turning alert. Mum, hurry. Lily's leg is caught in the seat gap. It might be broken. You both need to act quickly." The 2 of them rushed to the car after waking up. Lily was injured, despite their possible injuries. They carefully lifted the pale, pain-stricken Lily out of the vehicle and placed her on the ground. "Mum and Dad, I'm in so much pain." Lily's face, always delicate like a blooming flower, appeared even more vulnerable. The 3 of them expressed deep concern for her. Nobody paid attention to me, who had just rescued them and was now sitting on the ground, unable to stand straight due to pain. Something felt wrong. My limbs started to become cold. I reached out to them every week, calling out several times before they noticed. "Mum, call an ambulance. Please hurry," at my urging. They eventually took out their phones and called for assistance, but after the call, they only asked if I was all right as a courtesy. When I shook my head, they returned to comfort. Lily, a bitter feeling pierced my heart. I hadn't anticipated any gratitude from them. It would have been preferable if they had inquired more frequently, but they didn't. Their focus was solely on Lily from start to finish. The ambulance arrived quickly, and they hurried Lily inside. It was only then that they recognized the problem. Lily's leg was most likely broken, preventing her from sitting properly and forcing her to lie across the seats. This left no room for me in the ambulance. Mum gave me an embarrassed look after quickly determining that I was not seriously injured. "I'm sorry, Ava, but Lily is seriously injured. We need to take her to the hospital first. Do you understand? Right?" But I lowered my eyes, feeling a sharp pain in my heart. I clenched my fists, wanting to ask loudly why they were abandoning me again. Then I heard Lily's voice from within the ambulance. "Mum, this hurts. Lily, is she about to die? Mum, stop talking to her and hurry to the hospital. Nathan is constantly crying." Lily appeared anxious and worried. "Ava, take a taxi to the hospital on your own." Hearing Lily's cries, Mom's face was free of guilt. She slammed the ambulance door shut and urged the driver to rush to the hospital. The ambulance sped away like an arrow, quickly disappearing from my view as it had years before. "But I'm also hurt. I'm your daughter too. Why are you leaving me again?" My heart became as cold as my fingers and toes. They were focused entirely on getting Lily to the hospital and instructed me to take a taxi home. Did they even consider it? We were in a remote area, and getting a taxi was nearly impossible. I had to bear the pain and walk down the mountain step by step. Each step was agonizing, and I kept replaying what had happened. I had no idea how far I had walked, but I couldn't go any longer. I leant against a tree, and my consciousness faded. I heard a loud explosion halfway up the mountain, and then I completely lost consciousness, closing my eyes forever. A visible ruptured spleen caused my death. Everything seemed fine if they'd called the cops or an ambulance. Perhaps I would still be alive if I hadn't used a private vehicle. When the police announced my cause of death and questioned him in front of everyone, my mother hesitated and almost collapsed to the ground. Dad hurried over. When he learned about my death just as he approached the doorway, he appeared practically furious, grabbing Mum by the shoulders and shouting at her. "Didn't I tell you not to leave? Why didn't you listen? Why did you leave your house and travel to the mountains? Don't you know that Ava was once lost and has a mountain-related trauma? Couldn't you think of her even once?" Perhaps it was too much for her. Mum rolled her eyes and fainted while being interrogated by Dad. When she regained consciousness, she insisted on visiting the police station. Despite Dad and Nathan's attempts to stop her, she knelt in front of my lifeless body and cried until she nearly passed out again. I floated above, watching my body lie in the mortuary and seeing her cry while holding my cold hand. "Ava's mother is sorry. I am here to take you home." How ironic. The person who had abandoned me was crying and saying she wanted to take me home. But where was my home? The home she was referring to may still exist, but there was no place for me. "Sorry. You cannot take Ava's body just yet." "What do you mean, Mum?" With tears in her eyes, she looked at the man in the white coat. "Why can't I take my daughter's body? My daughter died in an accident. If I sign, we should be able to get her home." Mum frowned and focused on the man. Her eyes widened, but the man in the white coat was unfazed by her questions. He pushed his glasses up and spoke coldly. "Miss Ava, who volunteered 2 years ago, recently took part in a national secret research project. The project saw significant progress. Miss Ava has signed a contract with us to be the first participant in this global release. But how does this relate to us taking Ava's body?" Mum stood up. Her voice was filled with emotion. "Even if she signed a contract with you while she was alive, she is now dead. Will you continue to use her body for experiments? This is inhumane. It is highly disrespectful to the deceased. I won't let you treat my child this way." Mum stood firmly in front of my body. Despite my insignificance, I floated above, filled with pity and irony. This was the first time my mother defended me like this, and it happened after my death. "I'll be traveling with my daughter. If you try to stop me, I will have our company's lawyers sue you." Immediately, she took out her phone, ready to call the funeral home, but before she could dial, a large hand grabbed it, stopping her. I agreed on it. Mum looked at Dad in disbelief. I mentioned that Ava had joined the project and donated her body. I decided on it. Dad's tone was calm yet distant. He looked at Mum as if she were a stranger. Mom's disbelief turned to anger. "Why, Michael? Is Ava your daughter? How can you allow them to use her body for experiments? What if Ava didn't understand? How could you, her father, let this?" Mum clench her fists and pound on Dad's chest. This scene made my heart ache. I floated down, attempting to shield Dad from the blows, but it was futile. I knew it must have hurt, but his expression did not change. As her father, I owed her a lot, so I tried to accommodate her few requests. His tone was indifferent as he pushed Mum away. "Only this once. Can't you understand her?" After that, Dad looked at me and then left, leaving Mum in tears. I donated my body to be the first subject in memory extraction experiments, A day later, my memories would be broadcast worldwide as a scientific breakthrough. I followed my distraught mother back to the hospital, wondering what Nathan and Lily would think if they learned my memories would be released worldwide. As expected, their reactions were priceless. The moment they learned the news from Mum, as always, Iva never gave people a moment of peace. If she felt ill, she could have told us. Why did she have to hold on and postpone her death? Mum sat by the hospital bed, exhausted and red-eyed, but her words were filled with blame. Exactly. Even in death, she does not let anyone rest. Always doing terrible things. Nathan murmured, utterly unaware of Lily's ashen face on the bed. Was the memory extraction experiment real? I have never heard of anything like that. Why does Dad always allow Iva to do such dangerous things? Lily's voice was filled with worry when she finally spoke, but her eyes showed signs of anxiety and unease. The hospital room remained silent. Each person was lost in their thoughts, like the calm before the storm. Mum appeared to sense the tension in the room, so she moved to the waiting area sofa and picked up the remote to watch TV. But as soon as she turned it on, the TV displayed a report about the upcoming memory extraction research conference scheduled for the next day. Not only was the TV news flooded with news about this research breakthrough, but so was social media. If memory extraction technology could be perfected and widely adopted, it would be a watershed moment for the entire world and human society. Countless media outlets and streaming services announced that they would broadcast the whole conference live the following day. Everyone was excited to witness this historic moment. A day passed in the blink of an eye in the VIP hospital room. The atmosphere was icy cold. It was already time for the conference to begin, but nobody turned on the television. Mum, Dad, don't you want to see Ava's memories? What happened before she died? Nathan asked cautiously, his anxiety rising. What was there to see? Who would like to know her memories? It's not like her memories will include others. Lily scoffed, but appeared uneasy. The three of them exchanged words, but Dad held the remote silently, watching each second tick by. Even after the conference began, he remained silent. He sat there, his chest heaving as he gathered his strength. Finally, he lifted his hand to turn on the television. The room became silent again. Nobody spoke in the small hospital room. Only the voices from the television filled the space, explaining the memory extraction machine and its broad implications. I scanned everyone's faces. They were quite a sight. Lily bit her lip, appearing pale. Nathan leant against the wall, disgusted by the sweat on his forehead. Dad stared intently at the television while Mom's eyes widened in anticipation. People from all over the world have gathered around televisions, computers and phones to witness history. Online discussions raged as they awaited the outcome of my memory extraction. The machine was ready to use. Because the research was incomplete, they were only able to extract the most profound memories from my brain. When the memory visuals were shown on the big screen, everyone gasped in amazement. And the researchers celebrated their success. People were curious about the first experimental subject's deepest memories, and eager to see what they contained. The screen then displayed a harmonious family scene. This was my first memory, and the first gift I gave Nathan and Lily. From my perspective, our family was preparing a picnic area. Dad and I were pitching a tent as 9-year-old Lily pestered 13-year-old Nathan to play. Dad let Ava handle it herself. Please take Nathan and me to explore the woods. Lily, in her pink princess dress, pedaled and pushed all of the tent chores onto me. I've never understood why. Although I cared for her more than my other siblings, she was the most hostile to me. She was always crying and acting up to get Dad's or Nathan's attention. Whenever they spent time with me or left me to care for her, she'd look back at me with a smug expression that said, "See, Dad and Nathan care the most about me." Back then, I thought she was just a clueless little sister, so I always gave in to her and ignored Lily's whining. Dad refused her request. He pushed Lily, who was holding his arm, gently but firmly. We all divided the work at home before we arrived. Iva has already finished her part, and you promised your father that you would assist your older brother and me in pitching the tent. If you want to play, call Nathan over and clean up first. Ava is also the mother and father's child, not your maid. Dad said this as he pulled me aside and loudly summoned Nathan to assist with the cleanup. Nathan was hesitant, while Lily began throwing a tantrum and suddenly burst into tears. Dad, you are being unfair. You only care about Ava. I do not like you anymore. Lily stomped her foot and ran into the woods, feeling wronged. Nathan ran after her without saying anything else. I crouched and smiled at Dad. Dad, you should also go. I can set up the tent myself. You should hurry after them. The woods are vast and getting lost won't be good. Let us go together. Mum is busy in the car and may take a while. I don't trust leaving you here alone. Dad exhaled. He helplessly pulled me up and refused to let me go as he led me in the right direction. Lily ran after the two of us, searching for a while but not seeing their shadows. Looking at the endless woods, I felt a rush of panic. Why have we not seen them yet? Dad, do you think Lily is in trouble? My heart began to pound furiously for some reason, and the further we went, the more ominous the feeling became. No, Lily is just a small child. She can't run at that speed. Dad comforted me softly, but his faster pace and tighter grip indicated his concern. We looked around a little more and found Nathan sitting under a tree, wiping away tears when he saw us. Nathan's eyes lit up, and he ran towards us, crying, "Father, why did you take so long? Where is Lily? I see no one with him." Dad immediately grabbed Nathan's arm and asked, which made Nathan cry even more. "I lost her. I couldn't find her and had planned to get you, but I got lost." "Dad, should we separate to look for her?" I inquired anxiously. Dad did not immediately respond, but I could tell he was more concerned than I was. "No, the woods are too big, and we are on a mountain. There might be hidden pits." He offered me a reassuring look. "Take Ava back the way we came. I will keep looking. Maybe Lily is just hiding somewhere." Angry, Dad continued to search while calling Lily's name aloud to ensure her safety. I had no choice but to take Nathan back. Hopefully, Mum was already back at the campsite. "This is entirely your fault." Nathan had dried his tears and was now blaming me. "If you'd helped Lily pitch the tent, she might not have thrown a tantrum, and I wouldn't have gotten lost." Nathan has always blamed everything on me. I used to argue with him, but I didn't have the energy anymore. Maybe I ignored him. Nathan lost interest and followed me from a distance, occasionally looking around. When we reached a nearly vertical slope, he exclaimed with excitement, "Ava, look, there is a grave here. Who would bury somebody here?" Annoyed, I turned back and walked towards him. Nathan was startled as he looked where he pointed. It might have seemed interesting, but I was terrified. What if Lily, out of curiosity, accidentally fell a similar slope? The more I thought about it, the more terrified I got. Finally, I decided to return to the woods and help. "Nathan, follow this path straight ahead." Dad and I created markers along the way. "Follow them, and you will undoubtedly arrive at the campsite." I pointed ahead of Nathan and asked, "Where are you going?" He grabbed my arm and panicked. As I turned to leave, I had a better sense of direction than you. "I want to help, Dad." "No way." Nathan clung to my arm. "You can't go. Please take me back first." "What happens if I get lost again?" "This is entirely your fault." Nathan began to act unreasonably, but I didn't have the energy to argue in our struggle. Nathan suddenly let go. I lost my balance in the mud and fell backwards, tumbling down the nearly vertical slope, my ankle colliding with a tombstone. I felt as though my entire body had been crushed. I lay on the ground, unable to move. The pain was so severe that I couldn't even scream. It felt like something was blocking my vision, making everything blurry. Through the haze, I caught a glimpse of Nathan standing on the hill. He looked terrified, but I couldn't see his face. I saw him turn and sprint away as quickly as a bowstring snapping, just before losing consciousness. The scene shifted. Pitch black Mum with red-rimmed eyes turned to face Nathan, who was filled with guilt and panic. She was shocked. "Didn't you tell me Ava went to find your father? Do you know how worried I was back then? Why did you lie to me and your father? You caused Ava to fall there. Why didn't you tell us the truth when you returned? Why did you lie to us?" Nathan received a hard slap from his mother. I had no idea how long they had been looking for me, but I could see why Nathan lied to hide the fact that I had fallen. I suppose he was afraid of being chastised by our parents, so he lied. When they couldn't find me, he became more scared to tell the truth and continued to lie. I didn't mean to make Nathan's voice tremble. "I thought she had died. I wanted to say to you, but you just called the cops without asking. I was scared. I was afraid the police would arrest me for killing someone." Nathan covered his face, appearing aggrieved, but his tone abruptly changed. "This is not entirely my fault. If she had agreed to take me back first, we wouldn't have argued. It is her fault." Nathan's neck stiffened. As he spoke with forced righteousness, I saw Mom's eyes widen, as if surprised that Nathan was still avoiding his responsibilities. She trembled with rage and raised her hands to slap him again, but as she did so, the dark TV screen flickered back to life. I awoke from my coma, slowly moving my body and beginning to call for help, when no one responded. I attempted to stand up, ignoring the pain in my ankle and thinking of ways to save myself. I first found a sturdy stick and then gritted my teeth. I used all of my strength to grab onto a tree trunk and gradually climb up. Several times, I nearly slipped and rolled back down due to exhaustion or a misstep. The scene was nerve-wracking. Finally, when my last ounce of strength was exhausted, I made it up. I followed the path in my memory to the campsite, only to find it completely deserted. I stood there in a daze for a long time, and the tears I had held back finally flowed. But I held on to a glimmer of hope, believing that my parents and brother would never abandon me. I began hobbling down the mountain the way we had come, and sure enough, I saw them about to drive away from where they had parked their car, excitedly. I wanted to rush towards them, but my injured ankle wouldn't allow it. The distance between us was too great, so I yelled loudly, hoping they'd hear Dad. Mum, I'm here, you left me behind. Please do not leave me. I walked as fast as I could through the pain and cried out, but it appeared that they did not hear. The car began to watch it get further and further away. I went into a panic. I was scared they were going to abandon me. I was terrified that I would be abandoned. I didn't want to stop chasing that car, hoping that someone would notice me. My heart was filled with hope until Lily turned back to face me. I raised my hand high and waved furiously, but as soon as she noticed me, she returned inside and shut the window. The car did not stop. I watched helplessly as it drove farther and farther away, eventually disappearing. This was the first time they left me behind, and it lasted 6 years. The hospital room was deafeningly quiet. Mum stared at the television, unresponsive, as my memories continued. The television clearly showed how I was duped into a car after being left behind, how I was tied up and locked in a dark room, eating scraps and drinking dirty water, treated like merchandise, and trafficked to another city hundreds of kilometers away. As a 9-year-old child in the process of developing self-confidence and dignity, I was confined in a cage without respect and sold as livestock. I couldn't remember how I made it through those dark days. What kept me going was my imagination. My belief that my parents would come to my rescue. I believed they would never give up on me. This belief got me through 6 years of suffering. But what caused it? Who was the cause of my misery? I've never understood why my brother and sister would do this to me. Why, Mum? Lily pressed her lips together. Her voice trembled and her face was pale. She probably never imagined that the secret she had kept for 8 years would be revealed in front of everyone like this. I admit I saw someone waving at me, but I didn't realize it was Ava. Lily's eyes reddened as tears fell onto the bedspread. She seemed so innocent. Dad and Mum, if I had known it was Ava, I would have told you to stop the car. She's been so lovely to me. How could I leave her behind? As Lily spoke, she discreetly tugged on Nathan's sleeve. Nathan appeared startled for a moment before responding, Yes, Mum. Lily may be willful, but she would never do something like this. We should stop watching. As Nathan spoke, he reached for the remote on the table, but their father, who had stood up, slowly kicked him to the ground, ignoring everyone's shocked gasps. Dad sat back down, gave Nathan a blank look, and said, coolly, continue to watch. Dad returned to the television, which was already showing the second scene. I opened my eyes groggy, to find myself in an abandoned warehouse. I attempted to get up but realized my hands and feet were tied. I overheard intermittent sobs nearby. I followed the sound and discovered a terrified 16-year-old Lily in a school uniform sobbing in the corner. At that point, I had no idea what had happened. I only remembered it after I had left school. Someone placed a bag over my head, and the next thing I remember is waking up here. Lily. I shuffled over to her, wanting to know what had happened. Lily was crying so hard that she couldn't speak. She gestured with her chin, and I looked in that direction to see an unconscious Nathan looking beaten up. Based on his condition, he must have been severely beaten. This memory was probably from when Nathan and a few others were kidnapped. Dad frowned as he watched the scene on television, as if trying to piece together the memories. Nathan naturally remembered the kidnapping from a year ago, and a cold smile appeared on his face. She dares to claim this as her most vivid memory. Finally, I feel triumphant. He appeared disdainful. My expression was indifferent as I floated through the air. A cold smile remained on my lips. I felt a rush of anticipation. I was curious about Nathan's reaction when he discovered the truth. After all, this was the second gift I'd prepared for them. Dad, we shouldn't watch this from her hospital bed. Lily's voice was shaky and concerned. Something I didn't notice right away. Dad, I don't want to watch anymore. I don't want to remember the kidnapping. Dad, I'm scared. Seeing Lily's terror on her face, Nathan felt a pang of sympathy and drew her into his arms, saying, Dad, if you have any anger, take it out on me. Can't you see how terrified Lily is? What else is there to see? Isn't it exactly like Lily said? The selfish jerk fled to save himself, leaving us behind, and eventually got what he deserved. She even admitted it to herself. It is entirely Nathan's fault. Nathan's speech was interrupted by Lily's voice coming from the television. This idiot got involved with those guys who were messing with a woman who was with a man. He deserved the beating, but why involve me in this? I didn't make him go as a backup. I had planned to go karaoke with friends tonight. But thanks to him, Lily snarled at the unconscious with red eyes. Nathan, there was no brotherly or sisterly love on her face. In the hospital room, there was only anger and blame. Nathan, who had absorbed every word, looked completely stunned and instinctively pushed Lily away, unable to believe such cruel words could come from his beloved sister. He probably couldn't think he was less important to her than a night out. With friends watching his expression, Lily panicked, grabbing his sleeve and hurriedly saying, "It's not like that. I was just terrified at the time, so I complained. Please don't get mad at me." Nathan said nothing. Ordinarily, he would have forgiven Lily right away. But his current expression indicated that he was moving away from her, floating above. I burst out laughing as I watched the two of them. I felt a surge of satisfaction when I saw the once close siblings who were now strangers. Nathan's gaze returned to the television. "Okay, there's no point in discussing it now." I interrupted his complaints by frowning at the thugs in the distance who were drinking and gambling. Their rough appearance was intimidating. I slowly approached Nathan, assessing his current state. As I got closer, I noticed the guy who was always so arrogant. Now his face was covered in blood. Someone must have struck him in the head with a stick. The bleeding wound was already scabbed over. His face was bruised and swollen, and there were numerous footprints on his body. I still had no idea what Nathan did or why these people had tied us up, but I couldn't help but assume the worst. We needed to find a way out. I moved my wrists, frowning from the pain caused by the rope's friction in front of Lily's shocked gaze. I expertly slipped my hands free of the loosely tied rope. The rough rope had cut several bloody marks into my hands, but I remained silent. I silently untied the rope around my feet and took a careful look around. Eventually, I noticed a narrow dog hole near some clutter in the corner. "I'm going to crawl through that dog hole and find someone to call the cops. You stay here and remain quiet," I whispered to Lily as I looked at the group of thugs. Lily became extremely concerned when she realized I was about to leave. "No way. You cannot go alone. Please take me with you. Please do not leave me here alone." She became so agitated that I quickly covered her mouth, scared she would draw the thug's attention with her loud voice. "What about Nathan? Leave him here alone." I frowned. Nathan was brought up on purpose. I expected Lily to reconsider because Nathan cared for her, but she didn't. "Who cares about him?" Lily pushed my hand away, glaring at Nathan in disgust. "Would I still be here if it weren't for him? The place is filthy. The ropes cut my hands. Who knows if they will become infected? He messed with the wrong people and was beaten up. He dragged me into it. Why should I suffer for him?" I wasn't shocked. She did say this though. Deep down, I knew Lily was the type of person who would sacrifice others to save herself. "Well, you can untie me and stay here. I'll find someone to contact the police." "No way." I almost immediately rejected that idea. I had a feeling that if I let her go, she would leave. Without looking back, she would be unconcerned about Nathan's or my life. "Stay put. I will be back soon." I didn't waste any more words with her. I took advantage of the opportunity while the thugs were distracted and crawled out of the dog hole. Once outside, I looked around to get my bearings, but I hadn't gotten very far. I heard Lily's voice shouting from the warehouse. "Someone is escaping quickly. Catch them." It felt like I was frozen in place, cold all over. My mind went blank. I didn't understand why Lily did that, but one word echoed in my mind: run. All the thugs rushed after me. I ran aimlessly through the woods, tripping several times, until I was exhausted but too afraid to stop. They quickly caught up and surrounded me, hitting and kicking me. That moment transported me back 6 years, to the countless dark times when I had been beaten. Someone tore my school uniform, and as my skin was exposed to the air, I felt my heart being crushed. Don't let her appearance fool you. This girl has some fight in her. Someone's hands touched me, and my mind went blank. I attempted to get up and run, but was dragged back by my hair. "Want to help avenge the boss?" They smiled wickedly at me. Their leering expressions made me sick, and I trembled. "Nathan messed with the boss's girl. Now let's mess with his sister." I'm not sure who started it, but they ripped off my uniform and dragged me by my hair to a patch of grass. I was terrified, screaming and pleading, but the animals did not recognize me as human. They covered my mouth, grabbed my throat, and tore into me. Roughly. My tears had dried by the time the sun set and the moon rose. My voice was gone, and I was left in the dirt like discarded trash. I'm not sure how long I lay there. I awoke with a high fever and was in the hospital. Some villagers noticed me and called the cops in the hospital room. Nathan, who had seen everything, sat with red eyes, turning away from Lily and remaining motionless. The lies had been exposed, and Lily's face was pale, but she still clung to a glimmer of hope, tugging on Nathan's sleeve. Her voice trembled. "No. Listen to me. What else is there to explain? Nathan shook her hand away, grabbed her shoulders, and screamed. Didn't you say Ava escaped alone? Why didn't you tell the truth? Do you believe our lives are worthless? Only Lily's life is precious. What have I ever done to you that was wrong? I treated you very well. Ava treated you very well. How could you do that? Why would you push her into the fire pit? Lily laughed. Push her in the pit? Nathan, I may be a little selfish, but who is the actual cause of Ava's current situation? The truth struck hard. Lily revealed her true self. Did I tell you to push Ava down? Did I ask them to catch her? You are responsible for her condition. She died. What's the point in pretending? Can she hear you? Lily's mocking words pierced Nathan's heart. You call her Ava now, but how did you describe her to me? Behind her back. You called her filthy and claimed the scars on her body made you sick. She said she should have died back then. How dare you accuse me of hurting her? Nathan's eyes widened, as if struck by a thought or deeply hurt by Lily's words. He stood there, trembling. He collapsed on his knees, holding his head. His eyes were filled with deep regret. For the first time, I was wrong. I have wronged Ava. I should not have been as harsh. It's entirely my fault. I shouldn't have abandoned her, but I was too scared. I feared she'd return and expose me. I am her brother, but I have never acted as such. I brought her to this point and still believed she deserved it, wishing she had died outside. I deserved to die. I deserved it. He collapsed to the ground, crying his eyes out as he witnessed his repentant breakdown. I didn't feel any sympathy. All of the memories played out. They hadn't realized it yet, but they were being cursed online by the internet's global network. Mum seemed unable to accept my suffering, covering her mouth and nearly fainting. How did this occur? Why didn't she tell us? Am I her mother? Why did she keep everything to herself? Because you didn't believe her. My usually silent father finally spoke. His voice is hoarse. Your heart was always biased out of 3. Nathan and Lily were your favorites, but you never chose Ava. Without hesitation, Dad nearly crushed the remote in his grip, veins bulging in his neck. He shakes with a stoic expression. Even now, knowing her suffering, you continue to blame her. You do not deserve to be Ava's mother, nor do I deserve to be her father. Dad rose shakily from the sofa, nearly falling several times. Watching him, I felt a painful squeeze on my heart, making it difficult to breathe. No. You are the best father, the one who loves me the most. I reached out to embrace him, but my arms were too short. His tears, while untouchable, felt like they burned into my heart. He is undeniably my father and has always been my rock. During those 6 lost years, when everyone else had given up, he stood firm. His hair grayed almost overnight, weighed down by guilt over losing me despite his demanding workload. After he found me, he never missed a day without calling. He was my constant, the one who believed in me even when I was struggling emotionally as a result of the trauma I had experienced. He stayed by my side for 24 hours, putting everything aside. When my mother hesitated to pursue justice, he remained firm, even considering drastic measures to ensure those responsible were held accountable. Let's get divorced. Mum was stunned and couldn't believe what I said. I said, let's get divorced. My father took a deep breath and took out the divorce papers from his briefcase. I do not want any assets. We will divorce. I will take Lily's ashes and leave. I am not a competent father. I'll spend the rest of my days praying for Lily, wishing her a happy, healthy future free of parents like us. He declared resolutely and walked away. Mum stood there in shock until she saw him leave the ward without looking back, at which point she collapsed. How did things come to this? Ethan, who had not expected this outcome, clenched his teeth in anger. It's the horse's fault. Why didn't she die when she was violated? Why did she survive? Why do people still despise her, even after her death? Ethan's tirade came to an abrupt end when a bottle struck his head, knocking him off the bed. His recently healed leg landed hard on the floor, causing him to scream again, Mum. He looked at the mother who had thrown the bottle, terrified. Not only had he never seen Mum like that before, but neither had I. Why didn't you die? Why, Lily? Why are you being so selfish? Never giving Lily a moment of peace. Why did I have you without you? Is it just Lily? Wouldn't our family be complete? Would your father have considered a divorce? What if it were not for you? Mum turned into a frenzied person at that point. She stood up and began hitting and kicking Ethan, gripping his neck tightly. She lashed out angrily. Your father was correct. I am not fit to be Lily's mother, and you do not deserve to have a sister like Lily. You ruined her. You ruined me. You have destroyed our family since I brought you into the world. Let me send you an apology to Lily right now. No. Ethan desperately kicked his legs, but he had recently undergone surgery and had not fully recovered. Where could he find strength? His eyes were about to pop out of their sockets, and tears ran down his cheeks. Shortly after his eyes widened and he stopped moving, Ethan was murdered by his mother, who had once adored him. Mom lost her sanity. She couldn't accept that her favoritism had caused my death. She couldn't take our father abandoning her. She couldn't believe she had just killed her daughter. She admitted herself to a mental hospital, muttering endlessly day and night. Lily, has anyone seen my daughter? I need to know if my Lily will forgive me. Don't leave Mum all alone. Daisy drifted between moments of lucidity and confusion, trapped in her own unraveling mind. Hay, unable to accept the collapse of our family, drowned himself in alcohol, staggering through each day in a fog. In the end, he was found naked and bruised, frozen to death beneath a bridge. I thought I would feel avenged. I thought I would vanish from this world once my goal was achieved, or perhaps be reborn. But I didn't. My soul lingered beside Dad, watching him shave his head. In his arms, he carried the urn holding my ashes. Step by step, he climbed the mountain to the temple, bowing with each movement. When the abbot asked his wish, his voice was steady yet heavy. I just want to light a lamp for my daughter, and spend the rest of my life praying for her happiness and peace in the next life. Something began to pull at me, gentle, irresistible. My consciousness blurred. The last thing I saw was Dad's face, smiling through his tears. Daddy's Lily, may your next life be peaceful and joyful, with a family who loves you always. And then, I was